Malik sat by the hospital bed, his small hand wrapped tightly around his mother's fingers. She didn't move. Her face was pale and her eyes stayed closed. Machines beeped beside her, counting every second. He wished she would wake up and smile at him like she used to. But she didn't. She had been like this ever since the car crash. Just lying there, quiet, like she was sleeping for too long. Malik was only 10 years old, but he felt much older. He hadn't cried in days because crying wouldn't help pay the bills. It wouldn't make the nurses smile when they saw him walk in without lunch. It wouldn't bring Mama back. He missed her voice the most. Her soft humming while cooking. The way she used to sing when the rain hit the windows. There was one song she always sang to him before bed. A sweet lullaby about stars and dreams. He didn't know where she learned it, but it always made him feel safe. Now he sang it quietly to her, hoping she could hear. "Close your eyes, my shining star." He whispered, tears trying to crawl out of his eyes. As he left the hospital that evening, the cold wind blew against his worn-out hoodie. He passed a tall building with flashing lights and big letters on it. Sunburst Talent Studios Kids Singing Contest. Grand prize, $10,000. His feet stopped moving. $10,000. That could help Mama. That could maybe pay for the surgery the doctor mentioned. His heart beat faster. But could he do it? Could a skinny boy with no fancy clothes and no fancy voice walk in there and sing? He stared at the sign again. Then he looked down at his old sneakers, torn at the sides. He nodded to himself. He didn't have a choice. He had to try. The next morning, Malik stood in front of a mirror inside the small shelter where he slept. He practiced the song under his breath. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He didn't have anyone to tell. Sunburst Talent Studios was bright and loud. Fancy kids with shiny shoes and hair gel laughed and stretched their voices in the hallway. Some had guitar cases, others had parents fixing their collars. Malik stepped inside slowly, his hands shaking. People stared at him. Some giggled. One boy even whispered, "Is he lost?" He tried not to listen. He walked straight to the front desk and said, "I want to sing." The lady looked surprised but smiled kindly. "Name?" "Malik." "Just Malik." She handed him a number and pointed him toward a chair. He waited, his knees bouncing up and down. His stomach growled, but he had no money for snacks. One by one, kids went inside the audition room. Some sang like angels. Others messed up and ran out crying. Malik tried to breathe, but his chest felt heavy. Then, a voice called, "Number 27. That was him. He stood up and walked slowly into the room. Bright lights blinded his eyes. 3 judges sat behind a long table. One was a woman with red glasses. One was a man tapping his pen. The third one was Jordan Miles. Jordan Miles was the biggest singer in the world. He had won awards, sang in movies, and filled stadiums. But Malik didn't care about all that. He only knew him from the radio. Jordan looked bored. He leaned back in his chair, yawning. But when Malik stepped up and took the mic, something in the air changed. Malik's voice trembled at first. Then he closed his eyes and thought of Mama. He sang her lullaby just the way she sang it to him. "Close your eyes, my shining star. I'll be near, no matter how far." The room went silent. Jordan Miles sat up straight. His eyes locked on the boy. His mouth opened slightly, but he didn't speak. He knew that song. He hadn't heard it in over 10 years. He remembered a young woman with deep brown eyes. Her name was Amara. She used to sing that song when they were together. Back when life was simple. Back before he left without saying goodbye. Now this boy, this poor boy, was singing it exactly the way she did. The same voice. The same pauses. The same love in every word. Dreams will guide you through the night. Till you wake with morning light. Malik finished the song with tears on his cheeks. The room stayed quiet. Then someone clapped. Slowly. Then the others joined. Jordan didn't clap. He just stared. "What's your name, son?" he asked, standing up. "Malik," the boy answered softly. "Who taught you that song?" "My mom," Malik replied. "She's in the hospital. I want to win to help her." Jordan's hands began to shake. He stepped forward. "What's your mom's name?" "Amara," Malik said, confused. "Amara Thomas." Jordan stumbled backward like someone punched him in the chest. He couldn't believe it. This wasn't just any boy. This wasn't just any voice. This might be his son. The other judges looked confused, but Jordan didn't explain. He turned quickly and left the room. Malik stood there, frozen. He thought he messed up. He thought maybe he did something wrong. The woman with red glasses smiled. Thank you, Malik. That was beautiful. We'll be in touch. He nodded, his heart breaking. He walked out of the room and sat on a bench outside, trying not to cry. Inside another room, Jordan leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His mind was spinning. Amara had told him she was pregnant before he left town years ago. But he thought she had changed her mind. He never heard from her again. Now, a boy with her voice, his eyes, was singing that same lullaby. He had to know the truth. Malik left the studio and walked straight to the hospital. He sat by his mother again, squeezing her hand. I tried, Mama, he whispered. I did my best. At that same moment, Jordan Miles got into his black car and told his driver the name, St. Grace Hospital. He needed to see Amara. He needed to know if it was true. And if it was. He wasn't going to walk away this time. Jordan Miles stood outside the hospital, staring at the entrance. His hands were cold even though the sun was warm on his back. He hadn't been inside a hospital in years. He didn't like them. Too many sad faces. Too many memories. But today he had to go in. He had to know the truth. He walked up to the front desk. I'm here to see Amara Thomas, he said. The nurse looked up. Are you family? Jordan paused. I think I might be. She raised an eyebrow but pointed him down the hall. Room 306. Each step felt heavier than the last. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. What if she hated him? What if she told him to leave? What if Malik wasn't his son at all? He reached the door. It was slightly open. He peeked in. There she was. Amara. Her hair was still the same, dark and soft. Her face looked tired but peaceful. Machines beeped gently around her. Her hands were still. She didn't know he was there. Jordan stepped inside, quietly, like a ghost. He sat in the chair next to her and stared. A lump rose in his throat. I didn't know, he whispered. Amara, I didn't know you kept the baby. His voice cracked. He had never cried in front of anyone. But now a tear slipped down his cheek. I'm sorry I left. I was stupid. I was scared. I thought chasing music meant letting go of everything else. But you were everything. He reached out and gently held her hand. It was cold. Outside the room, Malik was walking down the hallway holding a paper cup of water. He had asked a nurse for it. His shoes squeaked against the floor. When he got to the door, he stopped. Someone was sitting by his mom's bed. He peeked in and froze. It was the judge. The famous one. Jordan Miles. Why was he here? Malik's heart jumped. Was he in trouble? Did he sing something he wasn't supposed to? He stayed hidden and listened. I met a boy today, Jordan said softly. He sang the song you used to sing. Exactly the same. He said his name is Malik. He said you're his mother. Malik's eyes widened. Jordan continued. I think he's my son. The cup fell from Malik's hand and hit the floor with a splash. Jordan turned around sharply. Their eyes met. Neither of them moved for a second. You followed me? Malik asked, confused and scared. Jordan stood up slowly. I had to see her. I had to know if what I felt was true. Malik stepped into the room, fists clenched. Are you saying you're my dad? Jordan nodded. I think so. Amara and we were together a long time ago. I left before I knew she had you. Malik looked down. His head spun. Then why didn't you come back? Why didn't you look for us? I didn't know, Jordan said, his voice heavy. I thought I didn't matter to her. I was wrong. Malik sat down. His tiny shoulders shook. She was all I had. Every night she sang to me. She told me my dad was a good man. Even when she was tired. Even when we had nothing to eat. Jordan's throat tightened. I'm not a good man. But I want to try now. If you'll let me. They sat in silence. Finally, Malik looked up. Can you help her? The doctors said they need money. I don't have any. I tried to win the contest. I'll help, Jordan said quickly. I'll pay for everything. Malik blinked. Why? Because I love her. And because I love you even if we just met. The next day, Amara was moved to a special room. The doctors said she would get better now that they had the money for treatment. Nurses came in and out checking her heart, her breathing, everything. Jordan stayed close by. So did Malik. Jordan bought Malik new shoes. He gave him warm food and told him stories about music and traveling. Malik still didn't know how to feel. It was like a dream. One day he was poor and alone. The next day a rich man said he was his dad. At night, Jordan sat by Amara's bed and played soft music from his phone. Malik listened too, sitting in the corner, his head resting on his knees. One afternoon, Amara's fingers twitched. Then her eyes blinked. Malik jumped up. "Mama!" She blinked again. Slowly, her head turned. "Malik?" she whispered, her voice dry and scratchy. Tears burst from his eyes. He ran to her and hugged her tightly. "You're awake. You're really awake." Jordan stood at the end of the bed, unsure what to do. Amara looked at him and gasped. "Jordan." He nodded, stepping forward. "It's me. I'm here." Tears filled her eyes. "Why?" "I saw Malik," Jordan said. "He sang your song." Amara stared at him for a long moment. Then her eyes softened. "You found him." "I didn't know," Jordan said. "Not until he sang." "I'm sorry, Amara. For leaving. For everything." She didn't answer right away. Then she smiled weakly. "I'm just glad you came back." For days after that, the room was filled with gentle voices and quiet laughter. Malik sat between his mom and dad, listening to old stories and watching their hands touch again, like puzzle pieces that finally fit. Jordan kept his promise. He paid for more care. He bought better clothes for Malik. He taught him how to warm up his voice and sing from the heart. Malik got invited back to the talent show for the finals. He would sing again, but this time not for money. This time he would sing for joy. As the big day came close, Amara grew stronger. She could sit up and brush Malik's hair again. She held Jordan's hand and smiled when he kissed her forehead. "You know," she said one morning, "I think Malik got your voice." Jordan laughed. "But he got your soul." They both turned to look at the boy who was sitting by the window humming the lullaby. "Close your eyes, my shining star." Jordan walked over and sat beside him. "You ready to shine, kid?" he asked. Malik nodded. "I think I am." This time he wouldn't be singing alone. He had his mother back. And now his father too. The final round of the Sunburst Talent Show was held in a giant concert hall with glowing lights, velvet curtains, and hundreds of people in the audience. Malik stood backstage in a clean white shirt, new jeans, and fresh sneakers. His curly hair had been brushed neatly and a small gold star pin sparkled on his collar, a gift from Jordan. Malik held his mic with both hands, breathing deeply. The noise of the crowd made his heart beat faster, but this time he didn't feel scared. This time he had his mom in the front row, smiling proudly, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She was still recovering, but she'd insisted on coming. Jordan was beside her, cheering with bright eyes and full of excitement. Malik stepped onto the stage. The crowd quieted. Then the music began. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and sang, "Close your eyes, my shining star. I'll be near, no matter how far." His voice flowed like a gentle river, filling the hall with warmth and love. People in the audience leaned forward, some wiping tears from their eyes. Jordan held Amara's hand and felt his heart swell. He had performed on many stages, sung in front of thousands, but nothing had ever moved him like this. Malik's voice grew stronger with every word. It was no longer just a lullaby. It was a story of love, of pain, of hope. It was a boy saying to the world, "I'm still standing." When the song ended, there was silence, then thunderous applause. People stood up. They clapped, cheered, shouted Malik's name. He bowed, smiling wide, then ran offstage straight into Jordan's arms. Jordan lifted him high into the air, spinning him around. "You were amazing," Jordan said. "You're a star." Malik laughed. "Do you think Mama saw me?" "She saw everything," Jordan said. "And she's so proud." Malik ran to his mom, who was waiting with open arms. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "My shining star." Later that evening, during the award ceremony, the host opened the gold envelope and smiled. "And the winner of this year's Sunburst Talent Show is Malik Thomas." The crowd exploded with joy. Malik's hands flew to his mouth. He turned to his mom and dad, who were already crying. He ran up to the stage again, took the trophy, and held it high above his head. The lights sparkled around him, and the moment felt like a dream. But the story didn't end there. With Jordan's help, Malik began training in music. He learned how to write songs, how to use a microphone, how to stand with confidence. Jordan brought him to studios, introduced him to musicians, and always made sure school stayed first. Amara stayed home to rest, but every evening, she cooked dinner while Malik practiced his new songs. They laughed, sang, and danced in the kitchen like nothing bad had ever happened. One sunny afternoon, Jordan took them both to a garden full of roses and wildflowers. He knelt in front of Amara and opened a small box. Inside was a golden ring. Amara, he said, his voice shaking, I've made many mistakes. But the best part of my life is sitting right here, next to you and Malik. Will you marry me? Amara covered her mouth in shock. Malik stood beside her, his eyes wide with joy. Yes, she whispered, tears falling. Yes, I will. They hugged, and Malik joined them, squeezing tightly between them. The wedding was small but beautiful. Malik wore a tiny tuxedo and stood proudly as the best man. Amara walked down the aisle in a white dress with lace sleeves. Jordan waited at the altar, his eyes never leaving her. As they said their vows, Malik sang softly from the side of the stage. Dreams will guide you through the night, till you wake with morning light. The guests cried. Even the flowers seemed to smile that day. Time passed quickly after that. One morning, Amara sat on the couch, holding her stomach with both hands. Jordan, she said gently, I think it's time. He blinked. Time for what? She smiled. The twins. They're ready. Jordan jumped to his feet. Twins? Malik laughed so hard he nearly fell off the chair. At the hospital, everything happened fast. Nurses rushed in and out, and Jordan never let go of Amara's hand. Hours later, 2 tiny babies entered the world. A girl and a boy. Malik stared through the glass window, looking at his new brother and sister, their little hands curling like flower petals. Jordan stood behind him, his arms crossed, full of pride. We have a big family now, Malik said. Jordan nodded. The biggest gift of my life. Malik leaned against his dad. Me too. Years later, the world would know Malik Thomas Miles as the boy with the golden voice. He would fill arenas, sign autographs, and sing songs that touched hearts everywhere. But no matter how famous he became, he never forgot where he came from. He never forgot the hospital room. He never forgot the moment he sang for his mom. And he never forgot the judge who turned out to be his father. One cold evening, as snow fell gently outside, the whole family sat by the fireplace. The twins slept peacefully in their crib. Amara held Jordan's hand. Malik strummed his guitar and hummed. Then he began to sing the song that changed everything. Close your eyes, my shining star. Jordan smiled and joined in. Their voices rose together, warm and full, wrapping the house in music and love. And just like that, the boy who once sang to save his mother had built a home full of hope, laughter, and second chances. The end.